Are you guilty of this? I know I am. And that is being an enabler with my fellow watch collectors, buddies of mine that share this passion and this hobby with me. And I will egg them on. I will live to a degree vicariously through their watch decisions, what watches they're adding or flipping, and what they're considering doing with their collection. And it's a blast. Not only, making these connections is great on a human level, but it's also beneficial for your own collection. Because sometimes, let's say I swap watches with a friend for a day or a week. I can live vicariously through their collection as an owner very briefly, and I can solidify the ideas in my mind like, yes, I want this exact watch, or maybe a similar watch, maybe a different color, different size, different complication, whatever the case may be. Or sometimes it's different and you go, okay, I've scratched that itch. I know what this watch is about. This was helpful because now I know I don't need to buy it. I've had enough. I've had my fill without putting the money down. And oftentimes these watch swaps will end in, permanent swaps. Like, okay, when you're ready to sell that or flip that, let me know. I will be a buyer. Maybe I can trade you the watch you've been eyeing in my own collection. And again, we enable each other. We egg each other on. We have these real connections, and it is an absolute blast. I'd have to say that it's been my favorite part about being a collector over this past decade. I've met amazing people. I've formed real friendships. We started off as quote unquote watch friends. We only talk watches, and that develops into a real friendship where we talk life and family and work and goals. And sometimes when we get together, we don't even talk watches. So I absolutely value those connections and these friendships and the benefits that come with living vicariously, being an enabler, egging on my buddies and teasing them to a degree, depending on how close I am with that individual. Now, that being said, it's a lot of fun, but I'd like to showcase part of a watch collection of one of my friends that recently flew to Utah to hang out and to check out one of our watch, collector meetings here in Utah of the Horological Society of Utah. And he brought with him some fire from Grand Seiko and Cartier. Now, I am going to show off some of these models, talk a little bit about them, but more than just the specs and details, I'd like to talk about how I have lived vicariously through my friend's collection as I've tried these pieces and filmed these pieces, wore these pieces around here in Utah for a short amount of time, right? Just for a weekend, but how that has influenced my own collection and direction and where I'd like to take my watch rotation. Again, these connections, they're great on a human level, and they're very beneficial for moving forward, selfishly with your own ideas. So let's start with the most underrated luxury watch that I think I've ever seen in person. You look at this, and from across the room, especially with the pre-logo change, with the Seiko dominant logo, this is hard to distinguish from, say, a SARB 35. It looks like a basic stainless steel Seiko. And then you get up close and you go, okay, all right, it's definitely a Grand Seiko, pre-logo change. This doesn't look all that different from, say, an SBGX or, like a Snowflake or something. And you don't think that it is a 43 millimeter platinum spring drive with an absolutely incredible caliber. This thing is so cool because it is so assuming. You walk down the street, nobody bats an eye at your watch. They think you're wearing, a $300 watch. They have no idea you're wearing an $80,000 plus piece that was one of 8 watches ever made in this specific color and material, movement, and branding. So it's just the ultimate stealth luxury watch. And as I wore this platinum Grand Seiko around, I just fell in love with the weight, not just how unassuming it looks, but the heft of precious metal. And given the fact that this is 43, which is large for this style of Grand Seiko, it really packs in the weight. And it's more than just wearing something heavy. It is wearing something that has that level of refinement, that level of art that we appreciate so much as watch collectors. So I wore this around a little bit It matched perfectly because I had a black t-shirt to match the strap. I was wearing white sneakers to match the dial, and I had on some blue jeans to match the blue second sand. So it just fit perfectly for me that day. And when I took it off, I put on the watch that I had been wearing, which is the Breitling Datura 42, one of my all-time favorite watches. And this is saying something. That Datura felt tiny, and it felt like a titanium watch. It felt insignificant after wearing a 43 millimeter platinum spring drive from Grand Seiko. And just that jump from the weight, between the different watches, it was so awesome. I don't know how else to describe it. It was really cool, and it solidified my idea that I want a full precious metal watch in my collection. That's been a long-term goal of mine. I think a lot of you can relate to me. You have a similar goal, and I think this is the year that I want to make it happen. I've been thinking about it for a while, but why not in 2023? Why not get something unassuming, something in precious metal, something that's unexpected that I can pair with the Datura or my Pasha de Cartier, or my Black Bay Chrono Panda from Tudor, and make some of those awesome stainless steel watches that are substantive and hefty feel insignificant after wearing a full precious metal piece. So that was one of the ways that my buddy's watch influenced my ideas and where I would like to go and when I would like to make this type of move. So seeing this one was cool. Seeing it in rose gold, the 202, that was really fun as well, because this dial is mesmerizing. It is so beautiful. And if we take a look at the movements, the watches have the same caliber. It is a spring drive caliber that is hand wind only, and it is gorgeous. And I would like to point out that this is a big movement. This is a big watch at 43, and you turn it over and the movement is equally proportional. It would be so it'd be so lame if this caliber was tiny and it felt like a small opening in a large watch. That would not be refined. And I'm pleased to say that this spring drive is the proper size with the right finish, the right technology. And here is an Easter egg. You'll notice in form Mount Fuji up here, and then there is a lake that is represented by the power reserve indicator, and then there is a small Easter egg, a tiny rose icon that represents the facility that these watches are crafted in. So if you're looking at it top down, yes, you see a beautiful spring drive hand wind movement, but you're also looking at a map of part of Japan. And what brand does that? That is so different. It's kind of funky, but I absolutely love that. That's really cool. So these two Grand Seiko calibers were they were very impactful to put on wrist, to film, and to wear around. Now let's talk about two other models real quick as we wrap up this video. These are from the brand Cartier, and the first one is a Pasha Chrono in full yellow gold. Now I'm a huge fan of the Pasha, as many of you guys know, and this one was fun because it is so different. It's discontinued. It's an older version, and surprisingly, you can find great pricing on this model. And finding a great piece that is uncommon, unexpected, you don't see it very often. It's not the usual suspect posted on social media regularly. And you find a good deal, and you're still getting the detail work. You're getting the precious metal. You're getting the design, the Gerald Genta design and everything. Those types of finds are fairly uncommon, but when they happen, they are so satisfying. I won't disclose exactly what my friend paid because I'm sure he's going to flip this at some point in the future, but he got a steal of a deal on this on the secondary market. And finding those deals, again, so much fun as a collector. And when you have the connections, when you have the friend network of various collectors that you egg on, sometimes you get these deals yourself when you trade and you flip amongst each other. So that's also one of the great things about making these connections and living and egging on your friends that are collectors. Now, lastly, here is one of my favorite watch designs. It's not my all-time favorite design, but I am a huge fan of the Santos de Cartier. And I have been an owner of the basic, white dial or opaline dial stainless steel on the bracelet. And this one essentially is the exact same watch, the same case, the same bracelet, similar movement specs, but it is highly modified and pretty rare as a watch. Not a lot of collectors go for the open work dials, but this one does have the open work dial. It has the green inlay in the markers. It has the green stone set in the crown. And this feels completely different from a standard Santos. And the longer I've been in this hobby, the more I have really appreciated those oddities, those unexpected watches. When I see 50 different Santos models being posted every day on Instagram, but then I put this type of watch on wrist, there's something exciting about the uncommon, and being able to try it on, being able to check it out in person was so cool. Now, this is a hype model because of the rarity and because of the modifications, to the movement and the dial. But essentially, it's just a hyped up Santos that is more avant-garde. It's more out there. It's not as traditional when it comes to the execution. And that can be a great thing if you're looking for something unique and fun and different. So let me just wrap up here, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this ramble. I am on the cusp of 100,000 subscribers. I think we're a little less than 1,000 away. So I want to thank you for all the support. And I hope you've enjoyed this ramble. Let me know what you think about egging on your friends, being an enabler, living vicariously through other watch collectors' purchases, and reciprocating that, getting benefits and helping out your buddies, flipping watches, trading watches. Let me know what you think about the fire oddities here in this collection, or part of this collection that belongs to a friend of mine. Again, thank you. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the comment section.
Woohoo! I like this one. Perfect.